waiting for a mum to put her baby down before they gave her bad news about the baby's brain, or so many different things that could be avoided with a little bit more thought and attention and compassion in care. So that is what inspired me to write the book, because if it had just been me, I'd have laid it to rest. But it's not just me. There's enough people out there who feel the same. And that lack of compassion in care is what spurred me to write the book, as well as I could see the impact coming through those comments from other parents.
Amos Madra.
Hello and a warm welcome. My guest today is Amy Brett, who's the author of the book 24+6, A Family Journey Through Neonatal Care, heart-wrenching memoir that she shares of the life-changing realities of having a baby born 15 weeks too early. And it's an incredible story. And Amy, I can't even begin to think about how things were for you and your family at that time. Even to the point that your eldest daughter wrote her own book with regards to the whole story and journey.
She did. She was only 4 at the time that she wrote the book, and she's 8 now. But there's been at least 7,000 copies been bought so far, mainly by neonatal charities supporting hospitals and units, so that families like ours who are thrown into a roller coaster ride of fear, grief, disbelief. You just don't know what's going on. And especially when you've got older siblings involved, some of them who might be kind of, really tiny. My little girl was only 3 when her sister was born 15 weeks early, and we were on a family holiday at the time. So, she went from having fun and enjoying herself, going to the beach, to suddenly her mummy being taken away in an ambulance. Bless her, she wasn't able to communicate to me at the time, but her fear was that I wasn't going to come back, that she wouldn't see me again. And of course, we know that that's not true, but for a little 3-year-old, that was her fear. So part of the reason she wrote her book is to help siblings and families who are going through the same or similar experiences as we did, to hopefully try and help siblings like her to explore those feelings and thoughts that she just couldn't voice at the time to us.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really happy that you've actually jumped right into what happened. And, if you can just take us back again, if you can just talk us through that journey. You said you were on holiday and then suddenly you rushed away to hospital.
Yeah, so I'd had a routine midwife appointment, everything fine. So we went off, fortunately not abroad, because we could have easily gone abroad. I was only 24 weeks pregnant, but fortunately only to sort of the Bournemouth kind of area. So still, a good couple of hours, 2.5 hours from where we live. But yes, we were having a lovely time. And then I started getting some slightly weird sort of flu-y symptoms. So I went to the local midwife unit just to check it out, thought, I'll be going home soon. Then I had a bit of bleeding. And suddenly I was, being told I kind of needed to go and check this out at the general hospital in Poole, which was a drive away. By that point, 11 o'clock at night on my own, because my husband was looking after my eldest daughter in the caravan that we were staying in. On my own in the middle of the night with a failing phone because my battery was going, I had to get to this hospital. And from there, I was quite quickly blue lighted off to Brighton, because I was told that the Poole hospital couldn't cater for such young babies being born. So at that point, I was just in shock, because I had no idea that anyone would be speaking about birth. I mean, I was 24 weeks pregnant. That's barely 6 months in, let alone, I thought preterm birth was, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. Not 3 months. So I was blue lighted off to Brighton and gave birth a few hours later. It was all due to an infection that crossed the placenta. and unfortunately spread to my baby. And therefore, my body kind of went into preterm labor to keep us both safe, really. Because if she'd stayed inside me, we would have both died. She was born with sepsis, and I had sepsis too. So we were both given intravenous antibiotics. And it kind of started from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just heart-wrenching when you think about what you went through. But I think that initial response from yourself with the flu-like symptoms to take that serious and to go and get it
Mm,
checked out, I think that's something sometimes that we just pass by, and sometimes we
definitely.
do need to go and get that checkup, don't we?
Yeah. And you know what? Part of me kind of wanted to. I mean, I did not want to go chasing off to the midwife unit at that time of night. I just kind of wanted to go to bed. But the sensible part of myself said, okay, better go and check it out. So it's a good job I did, as you say.
Yeah. And the experiences with the different hospitals, talk to us about that because you said Pool wasn't equipped to help you with where things were.
Yeah, they only take 27 weekers. And at that point, I had no idea even what a 27 weeker was. So when they said, oh, we don't take 24 weekers, I was sort of really a bit confused because I was thinking they can't be referring to the baby. But they were. And yes, because she was before the 27-week gestation mark, they did their NICU, which is a neonatal intensive care unit, wasn't equipped to take her. They're just not, they don't have that level of care that she needed. She needed intensive care, which was why I was blue lighted to Brighton, because believe it or not, all of the London hospitals were full. So we're from London. It would have been much easier to have been sent off to London somewhere, but no, we were taken to Brighton. But actually, in retrospect, I mean, Brighton was an absolutely lovely hospital. We were taken very good care of there. And yeah, right from the start, things were explained to us. Anella had good care there. My eldest daughter, Alina, was really involved in her care. The nurses were amazing. Even the little touches like putting, for when she first came in the morning, a little sign at the end of the incubator, as if Anella had written it, her sister, saying happy third birthday. Well, it's her 3 3/4 birthday, actually, which is highly important when you're 3 3/4, with a little footprint that they'd done in ink of Anella. So just little tiny touches like that made an absolute world of difference to us and definitely to Alina as well, my eldest. So yeah, lovely, lovely hospital.
At what point did you decide that you wanted to pen things down and to share your journey with everybody?
I think from Brighton, we were actually moved to another hospital in London, and from there to yet another hospital in London. And our experiences of the different hospitals were so different. As I've said, Brighton, amazing, very family oriented, a lot of emphasis placed on family integrated care, compassionate care. Whereas some of our other experiences, partly due to lack of funding, maybe busy nurses, maybe not as much emphasis was placed on the family. So, for example, the little things I've said about the notes on the incubator just did not happen in the bigger London hospitals. And actually, because we'd experienced the sort of kind of touchy feely side of things in Brighton, to go from that to quite stark, sort of um, very much basic care. I wouldn't say the care itself was basic, but the sort of the wraparound stuff. So, for example, the amount of time placed and energy placed on involving Alina, for example, was next to nothing. Busy nurses getting on with everything just didn't happen. So our experiences of those hospitals were really, really different, which led me after we eventually got home 5 months later to kind of look back and think over the whole journey and wonder whether I'd sort of made things up in my mind and blown things out of proportion, because the impact on my mental health at those latter hospitals and on my eldest daughter's mental health was huge. We really suffered in terms of just feeling quite ostracized, quite excluded from the care of our little one. And I wondered whether I was just coming from the perspective of a traumatized mum, having gone through a massive experience, and that I'd calm down and eventually sort of see that maybe I'd been unreasonable. So I posted a question on an online forum. It's got about 15,000 members, I think, parents of premature babies in the UK, and just asked other people what they felt like, how they felt their hospital stay had gone, whether they ever felt sort of that their care wasn't as family oriented as it should have been. And I was just overwhelmed by the response I got. There was over 200 comments, which I know is a drop in the ocean as to how many preemie parents there are in the UK, but still 200 comments from parents saying things like their milk was given to the wrong baby, or that their baby was taken to another unit without them being told, and they thought they'd died while they weren't there. Consultants not waiting for a mum to put a baby down before they gave her bad news about the baby's brain, or so many different things that could be avoided with a little bit more thought and attention and compassion in care. So that is what inspired me to write the book, because if it had just been me, I'd have laid it to rest. But it's not just me. There's enough people out there who feel the same. And that lack of compassion in care is what spurred me to write the book, as well as I could see the impact coming through those comments from other parents in terms of the impact on their mental health and on their family. So for those two reasons, really, so the sort of the lack of compassion in care, and to see what we can do about that, and also the impact on mental health that people don't really talk about. And I wanted to be really honest about the impact on my mental health in order to help normalize that impact for other people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. What do you think hospitals can do to try and address those issues, and to have trained staff with a bit more empathy and care, and as that experience that you had at Brighton, it would be great if that was replicated at some of these major hospitals in London, for instance. What can hospitals
Yeah,
do?
I think it comes down to leadership, actually, mainly at the different hospitals. Leadership matters a lot in terms of the ethos that's filtered down through the whole culture of the ward and the staff. So the matrons, the lead consultants, their attitude towards care really matters. So if you get someone who really values family integrated care and really places the wider family at the heart of care, and makes sure that care is individualized for each baby and doesn't treat them as a one size fits all pattern, that really makes a difference, because it filters down through the whole staff unit, to the nurses, to the doctors, to the registrars, etc. So I think that's one thing to, I suppose, work at that level, and try to help those people who are in charge to see the difference, and understand the difference and the impact that it can make on a family when those principles of integrated care and compassion aren't there. So I hope that through my book, I'm going to be able to reach some of those people. It won't be the first time they'll have heard from neonatal parents. There's a lot of neonatal parents who speak out and try to, help medical staff and nurses to walk in their shoes and understand what it's like to be on the other side of care. So I'm hoping that my book kind of adds to that growing pile of people and literature, to really make the case and say, hey, this really makes a difference. I think that's the main thing, to be honest, the leadership, convincing that leadership that it will make a difference. So yeah.
Absolutely. So today, as we speak, we've got a government who are outlining their policies for the upcoming general elections. This is a time now where political parties are thinking about how they can reach the voters. Perhaps this is something that could be addressed and maybe pushing your local MP as well. Do you think that's
Hmm.
something that we could do as well? Maybe speaking to local MPs and seeing this is something that they could raise in Parliament and see if we could have a grown-up discussion about this and try and make that standard that you had at Brighton,
Hmm.
the benchmark for pretty much everywhere.
I would love that. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what needs to happen. And you're right, the change needs to come from the top and filter down. There's been a lot of debate lately in Parliament around the leave, so parental leave as well. So it ties very much into that because when I gave birth to my little one at 24 weeks, the parental leave policy was such that I would have had to have gone back to work as soon as my maternity period finished. So it started on the day she was born, so at 24 weeks. So I'd have basically have had to have gone back to work after that sort of 5 months in hospital. I'd have only had 4 months left before I had to go back to work. Fortunately, I was in the position where I didn't need to do that, but many, many people did. Whereas now it's just been made law that I think it's coming in 2025, as far as I know, that maternity and paternity leave don't start at birth; they start at the due date. So that's an amazing amount of progress in terms of rights and sort of looking after parents who unfortunately give birth way earlier than they should, but shouldn't have that right to that family time taken away from them just because of the early birth. So yes, it ties into all of that debate, which is already happening. So it's very pertinent, I think.
Yeah, that's great news, and we need
Mm,
more wins like that. Uh, just looking on your own journey and your own background and education in philosophy, do you think that helped you in terms of mindset and trying to get through those dark days and just to try and push through?
maybe. I'm not so much sure about the philosophy. I think that went a long time ago, to be honest. Having had two kids, I think any philosophy has left my brain a long time ago. But no, I think it's just something you do. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis put on being strong. So parents of premature babies, you kind of have to be strong in order to get through. But I distinctly remember days where I did not feel strong at all. I probably didn't look strong, and I certainly didn't feel strong on the inside. And I kind of beat myself up about that a bit because of that emphasis placed on, very kind people all over the sort of units and everywhere, all the nurses, doctors, anyone you meet. Oh, mummy, you're really strong, you're doing really well, which is absolutely a lovely thing to say and totally meant with utter kindness, but has the effect sometimes, I think, of raising the bar and making it a sort of you feel like you should be strong, and therefore, when you don't feel strong, that you're failing somehow. And I did feel that quite a lot, um, even though obviously I carried on. And we were in hospital for 5 whole months, and being strong through 5 months is impossible. So there were up days and there were down days. And in retrospect, I'd be a bit kinder on myself. And I hope, partly through my book as well, maybe other preemie parents will be a bit kinder on themselves and realize that yes, it's okay to sometimes feel strong and sometimes feel that you've got it and everything's under control, and other times to just acknowledge that yeah, you're falling apart. You've got a baby in intensive care who's struggling to survive, and probably possibly other dependents and maybe a job to hold down, a mortgage to pay. um, it's big. It's massive trauma. I mean, they say having a baby is one of the world's sort of, biggest traumas, isn't it, for a family? But having a baby born even slightly early or born sick, is a huge shock and a huge trauma. And we mustn't forget that, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And again, this is why this book had to be written. So, talk to us. It's out now. It's available for purchase. All good bookshops.
It is, yeah. So it's available. If you go down to your local bookshop, you can order it in. I'm working on some of my local bookshops. It's now in, if you happen to live in Herne Hill, it's in the Herne Hill bookshop. If you happen to live in Ottery St Mary in Devon, it's also there in the Curious Otter. I'm working on Waterstones, so we're getting there. But yeah, you can go and order it from any bookshop, and it's also on Amazon and all the other big retailers as well.
And what we'll do as well, Amy, is we'll put the links to your website as well as your blogs and for your social media as well, so that
Lovely.
the audience can connect with you as well.
That would be great. Thank you.
Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure as well. Thank you.
If you want some amazing inspiration, check out the videos next to me, and I'll see you right there.